Reality is stranger than fiction, and if there is one mission that proved that, it's Operation Highjump. What you're about to hear is not a normal story. It's a kind of story that makes you question everything you know about this world, everything you've been told. Because what happened down there was never explained, and the people who came back didn't come back the same. This mission wasn't meant to explore Antarctica, not with that kind of firepower. They went there expecting something familiar, but what they found shouldn't exist. And after that, nothing was ever the same. What Admiral Richard E. Byrd and his crew may have seen is the reason why this story refuses to die. Because if any of this is true, then something down there was never meant to be found. Welcome to Operation Highjump. Admiral Byrd is flying over Antarctica. Two strange craft move in beside him. He looks over trying to understand what he's seeing. And then he notices the markings. Swastikas. And in that moment, everything changes. Because now the question isn't just, what are these things? It becomes who is behind them. According to this story, Byrd radio had been dead for a long time. Then suddenly it turns back on. The signal is weak, but a voice comes through. It speaks English with a slight German accent. And in 1947, that sound doesn't bring comfort. It brings fear. It welcomes him and even calls him by his name. Then he says that they will enter in exactly 7 minutes. And as if they could sense the fear in him, the voice comes back on and says, "Relax, Admiral, you're in good hands." Then his aircraft started acting strange. He wasn't in control anymore. It was being guided. The next thing he knows, the plane lands perfectly. When he stepped out, he's met by several men. Tall, blonde, calm. They act as if all of this was normal. They take Admiral Byrd to a platform that rises from the ground and moves quickly toward a hidden place underground. He's taken down to meet someone they call the Master. Byrd is brought into a room where this older man sits at a long table and delivers a message. He says his people have been watching humans for a long time, but have chosen not to interfere until now. He warns that humanity is too immature for atomic power and that every time they try to make contact, humans attack them. So now they chose Byrd as a messenger because people respect him and will believe him. And after that meeting, they escort Admiral Byrd back to his plane. A few minutes after takeoff, the radio crackles again and a voice comes through and says, "Control of the aircraft is now yours." Then the voice says again, "Auf Wiedersehen," which means until we see each other again in German. And the line goes dead. When Byrd gets back to Washington, D.C. in March 1947, he's pulled into a long debriefing. Hours of questioning, non-stop. He tells them everything. What he saw, what the Master said, and the warning he was given. He tells them the message has to reach the President. Then comes the order. Stay silent. Not a word. And from that moment on, Admiral Byrd never spoke about that mission ever again. Now listen, you don't have to believe the whole story because some part of it doesn't hold up, but some of it actually do. The event in that diary doesn't take place in Antarctica, they take place at the North Pole, so right away, something doesn't line up. Some sections read almost identical to Admiral Byrd's real logs, the same instrument failure, the same engine problem, like part of the story were reused. Then there is the Master speech. Whole section of it sounds like it was pulled from a movie, a 1937 movie called Lost Horizon. Same style, same warning, almost the same words. And here's a big red flag. In 1964, a Hollow Earth book comes out, written by Walter Ziegmeister, using the name Raymond Bernard. That book talks about Admiral Byrd a lot, and later when the secret diary shows up, guess who's writing the foreword? You've guessed it, Raymond Bernard. So yeah, the diary looks like a mix of real details and someone else's imagination. But here's the thing, just because some of it is made up, doesn't mean all of it is. That's the part people actually miss. So the diary may be fake, sure. Maybe Byrd didn't write it, someone used his name, and maybe some of those extreme details were added later on. Not by accident, but to make the whole story sound ridiculous. For example, in the Master speech, he said that his people were Aryani, and it sounded a little too close to the Aryan race, the so-called superior race Hitler was promoting. Tall, blonde, blue-eyed, and on top of that, swastikas on the UFOs. Like, come on, why would something that advanced care about stamping a logo on itself? That's not how advanced technology behaves. It's how propaganda behave. But notice what happened when those details get added. The story starts being unsettling and starts sounding silly. And once people start laughing, the conversation is over. Now here's where it gets interesting, because if you forget the diary for a second, we know the US did send a massive military force to Antarctica in a time of peace. That's not speculation, that's a fact. We know that they lie about the real reason behind Operation Highjump. Another fact. This mission was supposed to last 8 months. They left in a hurry after 40 days. The government told Admiral Byrd and the crew never to speak about what they saw again. But when too many people know something, it spread like wildfire. You can't stop it. So instead, what you do, you distort it. One of the oldest static intelligence work does is to mix something real with something extreme. Not to hide the truth completely, but to bury under it just enough nonsense that most people just walk away. They say like, oh, you're conspiracy theory, but strip away the noise. And the stories start to make sense. When Admiral Byrd left Antarctica and arrived in Chile, he did issue a warning. He spoke about a future threat, about flying objects capable of moving from one pole to the other at incredible speed, a new kind of enemy. Yes, people argue about the exact translation, that's fine, but the direction of the message was clear. He wasn't reflecting on the past, he was warning about something that could come next, something that could emerge from the polar regions. And he wasn't the only one, because the crew also started talking about what happened to them down there. So the question isn't whether the diary is fake, I'm pretty sure it is. The real question is, who and what made one of the largest military operations in US Navy history turn back after just 40 days? In 1991, after the Soviet Union collapsed, secret files started coming out, and one of them was written in 1947. The exact same time Operation Highjump was happening. It talks about what really happened down there. And what it describes, well, it's not training, not even close. According to the secret report that came out, just a couple of days after the fleet arrived in Antarctica, sailors saw bright lights far away on the horizon. At first they thought it would be a ship, but what else would it be? But they were deep in the ice water, far from normal routes. Then the light did something no ship can do. They rose fast, like a plane. They shot up into the sky like they were pulled by something. The crew tried to track them, tried to pick them up on radar, but nothing showed. Hours passed, and the sky went quiet. Then more lights appeared. Not one, several. At this time, they weren't far away. They were moving straight toward the fleet, directly toward the ship. The Navy opened fire, anti-craft gun, heavy cannon, everything. And according to the report, it did nothing. No sign of damage, no explosions. The light kept moving like they didn't care. Some witnesses later claimed that this object didn't come from far away. They came up from the ocean, as if the water opened up and something shot straight up into the air. One object moved so close to the ship that the air shook. The antenna started swinging, not from the wind, from the force that whatever just passed by. Then the report says a Navy plane took off, and almost right away it was hit and destroyed. Another ship nearby reportedly struck too, caught fire, and began sinking. Listen, I don't know if this story is true, but what I do know is this. It didn't come from a fake diary. This story came from a Soviet intelligence report that came out in 1991. Antarctica isn't a military base. It's not a government building. It's an entire continent larger than the United States and Mexico combined. And yet, you can't go there on your own. Most people hear Antarctica and picture ice, penguins, nothing else. Empty, useless space. But if it's really nothing, why is it treated like a crime scene? What do you need permission to go there? What are you limited to where they take you and what they allow you to see? You see, Antarctica isn't owned by any country, but it's not free land either. It's locked behind an international treaty signed after Operation Highjump. They say it's about protecting the environment and about your safety. However, they let people climb Mount Everest. People die up there every year. Their bodies stay up there where they fall. No secret, no silence. You're allowed to die up there, just not in Antarctica. And no one controls where you can walk there. So why in Antarctica? Why does the coldest, emptiest place on Earth have rules like this? It feels like the moment people went looking, they ran into something they weren't supposed to. Because whatever is down there was big enough to make the world agree on one thing. Antarctica is not yours to explore. And all of it leads back to one mission, Operation Highjump. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And if you haven't seen part 1 of Operation Highjump, well, you can just click right here and I'll see you on the next episode.